Welcome to Astrodology, the podcast that brings you knowledge, wisdom, and principles that can help you find the peace and comfort we all seek and deserve in our lives. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Astrodology with Astrid. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited about the topic today. It's something that's been on my mind for a while, especially after the first 6 months of this 2024 year, because I finally started to be consistent. So today I'm here to talk to you about the book, The Slight Edge, and it's by Jeff Olson. It's the slight edge, turning simple disciplines into massive success and happiness. And a friend referred this book to me, 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember reading it very quickly because the concepts just made sense. Ever heard the term, make it make sense? And so I was so inspired and all hopped up on the knowledge that I learned and was ready to employ some of it. And I did well for a while. But then eventually my energy and focus waned and I found myself not doing it. But I will tell you, of all the books I've read in quite a while, this book and the principles never left me, even though I left the work. So the slight edge is miraculous because he talks about compounding energy over time. You know, it's called repetition. It's repeating something that you repeatedly do over and over and over again becomes a momentum all of its own and an energy all of its own. And what I love, one of the statements he says that the slight edge can work for you or it can work against you. Now it sounds weird to say it can work against you because he says it's so easy to do it or not do it. And sometimes the principles in the book are so simple, stupid that you almost feel like that's not going to work. One of the cornerstone examples that I love to share from the book, weight loss. A lot of people have weight loss on their mind. We go up and down in sizes, put on some pounds, take off some pounds, but weight seems to come through as an ongoing interest for people, let's say. And Jeff says, if I told you, and I'm paraphrasing, if I told you you want to lose weight, if I told you to exercise every single solitary day of this year, of a new year, every single day, 365 days for 15 minutes, every day, that in 1 year your body would be different. You cannot say your body will not be different. So he says people will start doing it. They'll start doing the 15 minutes a day. Then maybe after a few weeks or so, because they're not seeing the results, they will then shift it from saying, well, I'm just going to work out 1 hour 3 times a week or 4 times a week. Because the main driving principle behind this book and the energy of the book is that there are things happening. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean that something's not happening. And to his point, your whole systems will be better in 1 year from just 15 minutes a day. We get so caught up in worrying about time and measuring things on what we can see. We're so guilty of seeing is believing in our culture. So Jeff says, you're not going to see anything after the average time people give up, I think is 2 to 3 months. You're not going to see anything during that time because you don't deserve to, because your body is working on the interior first before you can see the physical manifestation of it. So after 4 months, you will start to see things, after 5 and 6 and so forth. So finally this year in 2024, I decided to really try to slight edge my life. I do something called a morning sadhana practice. A sadhana is a morning discipline of things that I do that include meditation, breath work, yoga practice, journaling, different things that I've done throughout these past 7 years. And so this year I said, I want to follow Jeff's principles, because I did at one stage, before I read the book, I actually practiced yoga every single day for 2 years. Now, the caveat is I gave myself freedom. So I said, as long as you practice yoga every day, it could be 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what style you do, as long as you practice every day. And I believe I hit 2.5 years. Obviously some days I do like 10 minutes or 5 minutes so I could check it off the list. But that kind of showed me that it can be done. So this time I said I want to follow the slight edge principles more cleanly. So I practice yoga all the time, and I wanted to test out the practice of yoga because I know that you can lose weight mentally, physically, and emotionally. You can strengthen the body internally and externally if you stick to yoga practice. So instead of me practicing 5 or 6 days a week for an hour, hour and a half, I said, let me try the slight edge method. I am going to practice yoga every day of 2024, and I'm going to do a specific thing. So what I've been doing is vinyasas. Vinyasa is a set of 6 movements that take you start up standing, you go down through a push-up position, a cobra, down dog, and you do these 6 steps. So I said, let me do these 6 steps every single day. And how many? I started with the number 8 and moved to 10. But every day in 2024, I have done vinyasas. And that's pretty much all I've done. I might do the odd stretching here or there, but the core practice, and some days it's hard because I feel like, gosh, I'd love to do more yoga, but I don't. And that's not to say that I haven't taken other yoga classes this year, but my practice, my daily practice for Astrid, for myself, in my own space and skin, and my personal time, I have done these vinyasas. And I'm so excited because we're turning the corner and rounding out October. So for 10 months, and I tell you, probably in August, I started to see a change in my strength just by doing 10 vinyasas. I also do a headstand. I did 10 vinyasas, 8 to 10 vinyasas, and I do a headstand as well. So I've been doing a headstand and these vinyasas since the new year came in 2024. It's the first time I have ever been this consistent, and just stuck with the program. I'm one of these personalities that more is more. If they say 2 drops of the oil, I think 4 drops is even better. So in this case, I had to really put my ego in check and just stick to the formula, because I've been in this interesting testing mode. We're our own guinea pigs, and in order to see differences, we have to try things. And so I know for a fact that doing the headstands, because headstands send oxygen to the brain. It helps with your pituitary gland. It helps with your thyroid gland. And then all of a sudden, I've just little by little, incrementally, as Jeff Olson says, I have started to erase, and fat is moving away from parts of my body that I've struggled for years to remove. So I'm happy. I'm not done yet. I've got 2 more months, but through traveling, through major events, I have done this. I've also meditated 24 to 30 minutes every day. So I'm proud, and I want to share with you that it can be done. I have a personality where I'm always doing a plethora of different things, but it's amazing. It's amazing the place that you land to. So I just wanted to talk about some of the main principles from the book. And one of his core themes is master the mundane. I am classic for getting so bored and needing constant entertainment and things to be different. But he says, master the mundane, and the things that create success in the long run, he says, don't look like they're having an impact in the short run. Again, when people say, I can't meditate because I can't sit still, I say to them, well, you haven't earned the right to sit still. You have to practice. You have to put in the work. He says, he defines success as, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, Progressive means success is a process, not a destination. It's something you expand gradually over time. Failure is just as gradual, in fact. The difference between success and failure is so subtle you can't even see or recognize it during the process. The truth is, what you do does matter. What you do today matters, and what you do every day matters. He says successful people are those who understand that the little choices they make matter, and because of that, they choose to do things that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them, and do them over and over and over until the compound effect kicks in. So this idea of compound effect, he uses the analogy of money a lot because his mom, turns out, she was a millionaire. He had no clue, but she saved pennies and coins throughout her working lifetime. She never worked jobs that were high paying, but she saved her money. And over time, if you save a penny, if you've been saving a penny your entire lifetime, compounded over time, the interest of those pennies would have added up to a nice chunk of change. He said people don't consistently do simple things for 3 reasons. 1, while they're easy to do, they're also easy not to do. I love it. I feel it. I call it the meh approach. Like, we don't see the consequences right away. So it's like, I could take it or leave it. Number 2, I don't see any results at first. So again, we're a culture that seeing is believing. We will believe it when we see it. And number 3, they seem insignificant, like they don't matter. These little small steps, but they do. So the other thing is, say you want to organize a drawer, a huge drawer that's been needing to be organized for years. Instead of taking an entire Saturday or an entire Sunday or an entire weekend for that matter and cleaning out that drawer, his theory is dedicate 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes a day to it and do it every single day until it's done. And you will be surprised how quickly and how more efficient. So when I first started reading The Slight Edge, I tried this, but then my ego would get involved. When the timer went off after 15 minutes, I'd add 15 more and 15 more. Again, not being so hard-headed and not following the formula. Everything in life, the things that produce results have a pattern and they have a formula. You could say a prescription, so to speak. Time is a big one. People say, I don't have time and I don't have time. So that's why I said you will have 10 to 15 minutes every day to do one thingy, something. And if you don't have that time, you have a different problem. So his theory is plant, cultivate, harvest. Plant, cultivate, harvest. Successful people form habits that feed their success instead of habits that feed their failure. So failure is inevitable, but like he said, there's such a slight difference between success and failure. Getting on the path and staying on the path, he says, requires faith in the process because, again, you can't see it. And especially at the start. At the start is like you're going down, you're a pioneer. You're paving a new way, so to speak. And he says pioneers don't know what's out there, but they go anyway. They're like, so many people say, well, I don't want to try. I was afraid to try because I don't know. I've never done it before. And just because you've never done anything before is interesting because you've never done anything before in life before you did it. So that excuse, I never understood that. Well, I've never done it before. Well, you've never been 12, 13, 14, never been 30, never been 40, never been 50 until you get there. So that's why it takes a lot of courage. And it means that your purpose, you have purpose, and it's so strong in your heart that you are understanding that you are naturally on purpose and the strength keeps you going. So time is a big one. Knowing the secret of time, he says, if you stay on this road long enough, I'll get the results I'm seeking. And it's not a question of your mood or your feelings. And he says it's not a question of willpower. It's a question of simply knowing. So the overriding principles, there's so many though, but one of the main ones is slow down to go fast. Thus, the 10 to 15 incremental minutes every single day until something is completed versus trying to do an hour, 2 hours, several times a week. Time is the force that magnifies those simply daily disciplines into massive success. There's a natural progression to success. Plant, cultivate, harvest. And it's central to everything. No genuine success in life is instant. Life is not a clickable link. So living in this modern social media time and just speeded up technological time with AI and everything, unfortunately, we can't click things. And I heard a saying today that said, anything that doesn't come from work and process is fleeting. You see this in actors, musicians, people become successful overnight. And they lose their minds because it's waning, because it wasn't earned, So to grasp how the slight edge works, you have to view your actions in the eyes of time. Because we always think, well, that's going to take much longer. But the theory is time is going by anyway. That time is going to pass. That week, that month, that year, it's going to pass anyway. So no success is immediate and no collapse is sudden, he says. They are both the result of the slight edge accruing momentum over time. So we have to accrue this momentum over time. So most of us, and I'm guilty of this, is hoping for the big break, the miracle, like a big breakthrough. We want like a magic pill or magic bullet. And it's natural for us to want that. I guess you call it the easy way out. And the thing is, our attitude is the only thing that translates our abstract understanding, our philosophy, into concrete actions. Another word for attitude is motion, movement. In chapter 7, he talks about happiness is created by doing simple, easy things and doing them every day. Success does not lead to happiness. It's the other way around. More happiness creates more success. Amen to that. And I said in one of my other podcasts, I believe that one of the goals that I'm focusing on going forward in life is happiness. I realize I haven't been happy in so long. I've had moments of joy and grandeur and just delicious, amazing experiences, but I have not had sustainable happiness in a long time. And I realize because I am a successful person, or being successful has always mattered to me. So whether it was in university, whether it was working in corporate, teaching yoga, whatever I do, there's this feeling of doing it and being the best at it. I like to do things that I'm the best at it. And I do know that practice makes perfect, but that, so like he says, that happiness comes from, performance. It comes from being successful, being happy creates that success. So being happy with where we are. Elevated levels of happiness create elevated levels of health, performance, social. It creates all kind of energies. So he says he makes how to make the slight edge work in your life. Number 1, every morning, write down 3 new things you're grateful for. Number 2, journal for 2 minutes a day about a positive experience you've had in the last 24 hours. Number 3, meditate daily for a few minutes. Number 4, at the start of every morning, write an email to someone praising or thanking them. And number 5, get 15 minutes, a simple cardiac exercise a day. So my yoga practice culminates around 15 to 18 minutes, so I can check that off my book. Every day and every moment, you get to exercise choices that will determine whether or not you will become a great person living a great life. Greatness is not something predetermined, predestined, or carved into your fate by forces beyond your control. Greatness is also always in the moment of when you're on purpose. When you're on purpose. Great success often always starts from a tiny beginning. But the key is there has to be a beginning. There has to be a start. You have to start somewhere and you have to do something. So you have to start, you have to do something. And again, so many people are afraid to start because they're afraid they won't be good at it. And the only way to know is to try. So what I find interesting about hesitation, when people hesitate to start because they've never done it before, is that the time is going to go by anyway, and the only way to know is to try it. So it's such a circuitous thing. He says if you add up just 1% of anything, skills, knowledge, effort per day, in a year, you will have more than triple, but you have to start with the 1%. Greatness is not something predetermined, predestined, or carved into your faith by forces beyond your control. Greatness, again, is always in the moment of decision. Indecision is the killer of success. So he says the truth is everything is not just a straight line in life. Everything is always constantly changing, including our lives. We're always on a journey, which is called our life path. And that path is not a straight line, but that path occurs as you walk your path. You cannot have a path unless you're walking it. And it's always every moment of every day carving either upward or downward. If you're not increasing, he says, you are decreasing. My yoga teacher, Brian Kest, also said, he goes, if you're not building, if you're not growing, you're atrophying. So he says one of the quickest and most direct routes to getting yourself up and onto the success car is to get out of the past. Oftentimes we use the past as a predictor for the future. Now it's great to use the past when you've had success to kind of take pearls of wisdom from that. He says review the past, but only for the purpose of making a better plan. You look back and you learn from the mistakes, or you learn from the things that really worked. But again, you have to apply, that worked then in 1982, but this is now a new paradigm. Will it work or not? So the idea is to try. You want to review it and understand and take responsibilities about things. So he says the future is your most powerful tool and is your best friend. So the idea is devote some serious, calm, focused time and effort into designing a crystal clear picture of where you are going. And it's okay not to know, but maybe take that 10 or 15 minutes a day just to ask yourself, where do I want to go? And sometimes the answer comes easier, and sometimes you get an answer right away. You go down that path and it doesn't work. So we're never stuck. That's the other thing that I know that people get hung up on. We're never stuck. If you start a thingy, it doesn't work out. Guess what? You can drop it. You get to change your mind. Everything in life, everything is a form of energy, and energy is constantly moving and changing. Everything in life is always in motion. Even though things seem static and still, everything is always in motion. Every day, every moment, your life passes. Either you're carving upward or you're carving down. Growing up, we heard 5 times as many no's as, they said that when you grow up, it's like, no this, no that, no this, no that. By the time we grow up, we've heard no like 40,000 times to compare to 5,000 yeses by the age of 5. So by the age of 5, we've heard no, the word no, 40,000 times versus 5,000 yeses by the age of 5. It's no wonder that we're hesitant and we're worried about things. People on the success carpet pulled by the future. I always call it riding the magic carpet, taking a magic carpet ride. People on the failure curve are pulled by the past. They're just constantly pulled, said Paul, pulled by the past. But no matter where you are at any moment, You can choose to step onto the success curve. So fear is a choice, just like anything else. So someone says, oh, I'm afraid to try it or do it. But it's a choice. And like a snap of a finger, we can choose and decide to change. Now, that doesn't mean the change is going to be immediately, but the minute you say, I can and I will and I must change, you can do it. You can start it if it's important to you and it matters. The word want has two meanings. It can mean you desire something, and it could also mean that you lack something. We tend to desire what we lack and lack what we desire. We tend to desire what we lack and lack what we desire. Powerful words. Powerful, powerful words. When on purpose, the idea is to give credit to God for his love, power, and perfection, and all that we do so we can serve him properly. So what do you want? What do you want? The idea is to energize what you want. What you want. What you want. It's no accident that we're here and that right now you're hearing this message, because we're headed into a new year, a new season of change. And like I do my moon talks, my full moon and my new moon every single month, we get an opportunity to start again. You are here because the universe wants to live something through you and birth something special through you. Core commitments. Chapter 4 through 10 talks about the core commitments. The daily rhythm starts to change you. Part of the slight edge is learning to go with the flow. You can be as impatient as you like. Ding, 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 ding. That's me. But that won't bother the slight edge. It's always moving in its own optimal speed, with or without your consent. So whether you are aware of it moving or not. So it's easy to stay active, and it's easy not to. It's just as easy. How many times you said, I'm going to get on a program, I'm going to walk every day? How hard is walking every day? Simple, right? But some days you wake up and you just don't feel like it. So like he says, it's easy to stay active just as it's easy to not stay active. If you stop, it won't kill you today, but that simple error in judgment, compounded over time, will destroy the getting of any goal you're after. So yeah, not walking 2 out of the 7 days a week's not going to kill you, but again, thinking of the compounded energy over time, it will allow you to not have that success. In the slight edge work, you have to trust the process. I know the first, because I had at one time when I was going to the gym, at one time I had a personal trainer. When you join a gym, you get a personal trainer, they will tell you, do not look for results until after 4 months. And that's a bitter pill to swallow, because you are sore and you just want so bad. You're tired, you're sore, and you want to see those results. But that's when you just have to continue to trust the process. Trust the food that you're eating. Trust the training that's coming from the trainer. And then after a while, it becomes automatic. So the thing with my asana practice and my, and doing my headstand and my meditation every day, I finally got to a point, not if, it's when. So in a day, sometimes I have gone to bed. I've not done my vinyasas. I've done my meditation, my writing or whatever, but I didn't do those vinyasas and my headstand. I have gotten out of bed at 11:25 p.m. and done my vinyasas and headstand. So before midnight struck, I have done it. And it's in your bones. It stays at the forefront of the mind. So what I'm trying to prove out is that when something is important to you, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. There are 4 forces that he calls a slight edge 4 forces. Number 1, momentum, finding your own intrinsically optimum rate of growth, and is always served by a step-by-step approach of constant, never-ending improvement, which lays solid foundations and builds upon them over and over. When you are in steady motion, it's far easier to make positive changes in your direction. Number 2, completion, Are there agreements or commitment you've left hanging? Every incomplete thing in your life exerts a training course on you, sucking the energy of accomplishment, success out of you, as you surely are like a vampire stealing your own blood. Every incomplete promise, commitment, or stream of energy and strength that chokes up your ability to move forward, progress, or improve incomplete things keeps calling you back to the past to take care of it. It keeps the past alive when you don't follow through on your promises, your commitments. A surefire way to be forced to live as a prisoner of your past is not to complete things. And again, I lived this. I had a garage that needed to be cleaned out for 7 years. And it was like a mental weight on the back of my brain. What are the mental weights on the back of your brain? Reflection. Keep your progress or lack of it right in front of your face. At the end of the day, write down what you did do versus starting with what you want to do. In each area of my life, did I do things that are easy to do and easy not to do? Did I continue my momentum on the success curve? Do reflections day in and day out. And number 4, celebrating. Make each successful right choice a celebration. Which behaviors do you want to have take on a new life of their own? The way a behavior turns into a habit is by repeating it over and over again until it becomes automatic, until it becomes not if, it becomes when. Closing out, habits arise out of action, but they come from daily activities compounded over time. Your choices come from your habits of thought, which are the product of your thinking, which comes from the view you have of the world and your place in it. Basically, your philosophy. Habit number 1, show up. Habit number 2, be consistent. Habit number 3, have a positive outlook. Habit number 4, be committed for the long haul. Habit number 5, cultivate a burning desire backed by faith. And number 6, be willing to pay the price. And when he talks about paying the price, it's putting the time and the work in. Again, what I love about the slight edge, he's not asking you to dedicate 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes, 2 hours a day to anything. He's asking you to pick something, especially an uncompleted thing that you need to complete. Because what we do is we exhaust ourselves, and he knows that it's hard. He knows, the mind is not our friend. That's what we have to understand. The brain is not our friend, so it's going to keep pulling us and tugging us back. So learn to master. To me, this is about mastering the emotions and the brain, the thoughts. And when we master those, after daily, compounded over time, you get a right to have the success. So I hope this inspired you. You can start today. You don't have to wait until the new year. And then maybe in November, let's say maybe November 1, on the new moon in Scorpio is a beautiful time to start. It's a double 11 day. There's ones all over the place. One is new beginnings, aligning with the new moon, so that by November 2024, you look back on November 2025. Get a jump on the new year. Glide into 2025 already in process. You'll be 2 months in, well on your way to month number 4, when you can really start seeing the visible, physical signs of your success. I really love this topic. Turning simple disciplines into massive success and happiness. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Pick up the book, the audio book. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. There's so many stories and metaphors that I did not talk about, but that is up to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Astrodology with Astrid. Be well, take care, and I'll join, or you join me in the next episode of Astrodology with Astrid. Until then, happy new moon in Scorpio. Happy November. Namaste. Thank you for listening to Astrodology. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help support the podcast, please hit the subscribe button and tell your friends about it by sharing this program on social media. You can also follow me on Instagram at Coda Life Goddess or at codalife.com. Coda is C-O-T-A, Coda Life Goddess or codalife.com. Thank you again for listening to Astrodology, and I'll see you next time.